Welcome to College Football Roundtable, your source for college football coverage, including major storylines,
playoffs,
can't miss game previews, and picks each week. Join your hosts, Dan, Rob, and Jordan at the Roundtable for a show unlike anything else. As for Football presents the College Football Roundtable.
I always want to shorten that intro, but I don't, because that gives people a chance to run to their computer or get to their screen, because that last part where it kind of fades out. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Week 2 is in the books, man. ISU won the Cy-Hawk Trophy and probably the most, Iowa State way, last minute field goal, 16-13. I mean, can these guys score 20 points or 30 points, maybe even 40 points at all? Typically when they play other teams, they do that quite easily. There's still a bunch of cupcake games left in the top 10, man. Holy crap. There's still 2 more weeks. A lot of people do not start their conference play until the end of this month, which is nuts. And then some teams look better than others. There was a shakeup in the Little Apple, and Arch Manning finally got the numbers that the Texas faithful wish he would have gotten against Ohio State. Anyway, what's up, Trash Talkers? Welcome back to the College Football Roundtable. I'm your host, Rob, in Fayetteville, North Carolina. We got Dano Ikebesa calling to you out of coastal Connecticut. Trigger Joe is on the way. Omar is not here physically, but he is present on the Ask for Football website. If you did not go back and read his article, he did a really good deep dive on this past weekend. And we're going to get into that a lot deeper on the Army Football Show. So if you're not a member of the Firsty Club, you are totally missing out on great interview that we got coming up, and that's all I'm going to say. We'll probably plug it towards the end. But Dano, what'd you watch this weekend, and how are things going on your end?
So life is good, man. I am officially on vacation, which is awesome. I told myself we're going to Saratoga tomorrow, and I am going to drive really, really hard to not be anything as for football while we are gone. I took my week with the bye week, so I'm trying to do the right thing here. Dude, I watched so much college football this weekend. I had 3 TVs, one of which was set to show 4 games. So I had 6 games on at any one given time. And it was overwhelming. My wife was like, "You are insane." So yeah, I watched Iowa State. That might have been the game of the day. I kept an eye on USF beating Florida. That was insane. Baylor at SMU went crazy, especially at the end. Ole Miss at Kentucky also got crazy. UVA at NC State was a good game, even though I was pulling for the Cavs. UConn snatched the defeat out of the jaws of victory at Syracuse. I watched every freaking snap of that game. Unbelievable. It was just heartbreaking. Jacksonville State beat Liberty. Was delighted with that. So that was one of my picks. And finally, Texas State at UTSA. Totally insane shootout. If you guys missed that one, what an insane game. Almost 90 points scored in that game.
Yeah, that game was pretty bonkers. And for me, Joe's here now, so he's calling to us from the home of the big house, but we'll continue to run down what we watched this weekend, then we'll pass it over to Joe. I watched the Army game, of course, which was still to this day, that may have been the gutsiest performance that I've seen from a Jeff Monken coach team, to be completely honest. In all the years I've watched Army football, that was probably one of the most complimentary football games that I've seen, and that's really what you need to win, particularly when, as Coach Monken always says, we don't have the most talented guys on the depth chart, but we're tough, and that was 100% the truth in that game. That Texas State UTSA game was pretty amazing. To go down into the Alamo Bowl and beat the Roadrunners is super damn impressive. Texas State, obviously they didn't get the memo that they were supposed to lay down for UTSA. And I think, there's quite a bit of interesting contest, because you saw, teams that were supposed to struggle against quote unquote cupcakes, teams that were supposed to struggle against quote unquote cupcakes didn't look so hot, particularly in the first half. So Clemson struggled with Troy, which was odd. Is Clemson going to continue to Clemson? If they would have lost that game, I think their fan base would have hit the fire alarm as well. Georgia struggled, and then ASU, lost to a bottom tier SEC team. Legitimately, freaking Mississippi State has currently as many wins as they had last season already, and we're only in week 3 of the season. So that's an interesting thing to look at as well. Joe, what did you end up watching? How was your weekend?
I would like to mention that we have some pretty sharp picks in recent memory, but collectively as a show, we did pretty well on Saturday. And I was a half a point away on Iowa State, that game from going 3-0. I think you were almost ready to go 3-0. I'm pretty sure two of us called Mississippi State fraud checking Arizona State. Um, and speaking of fraud checks and the people that didn't get the memo, South Florida
Oh yeah.
as a 17.5 point dog goes to the swamp and wins with no time on the clock on the foot of a Grammatica. And I have more to say about him. That was easily the biggest upset of the week, in my opinion. And then we got the nighttime games, and I know you guys know what I watched. That game was tailor-made for a deer in the headlights moment for Bryce and Michigan, and that Brent Venables defense did exactly that. They stumbled in the first half, and obviously they looked better in the second half, which they actually outscored Oklahoma in the second half, 13-10, but wasn't enough to recover from that putrid offensive first half. Just couldn't get anything going. Um, I said that game was going to be a coin flip, and it could go one way. Bryce could either put the country and Michigan could put the country on notice, or he could be an 18-year-old human being. And the latter of the two happens, but I think that kid's going to wow us at least twice this season. And I'll say it one more time: what is going on with Clemson football? How many games do they need to play 4 quarters of good football on one Saturday?
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
nuts.
yeah, like and this is weird because it's like Dabo's doing things out of what he normally did. Like he's going into the transfer portal. He's doing all the things that other teams are doing, and maybe that's the reason why the team hasn't gelled yet. Maybe that's why they're struggling to close it out. Dano, let's hit the Service Academy standings real quick. Thanks.
So yeah, Army is 1-1 after beating K-State in the Little Apple. Quarterback Cale Helms ran the ball 41 times, and the Black Knights edged out the Wildcats. One of the craziest performances that we've seen lately. Coach Munkin looked like he was almost in tears in the middle of the field after the game. I mean, just what an outstanding victory that was. Navy is 2-0 after pitching a second half shutout against UAB at final score 38-24. That was a shootout. It was crazy. The UAB just couldn't come back from that second lightning delay. It is not easy to sit in your visitor's locker room that long, that many times. I mean, not taking anything away from the Mids because I think that's a good team, but the Blazers, that was a tough one for the Blazers. I think that team is a little bit improved from what we thought they were. So, and Air Force had a bye week. They take on Utah State September 13th. We'll see what they got. I think they're favored by about a touchdown, right?
Yeah. So outside
Sorry.
the FBS, we've got the Coast Guard Academy. Coast Guard Academy is 0-1 after losing a heartbreaker in OT to University of New England, 56-49. The Bears take on Curry College this weekend. You can watch the Coast Guard Academy on Flow Sports. It's a college streaming service. I don't know what it is. You'd have to do a little bit more research on that. But Merchant Marine Academy, the Mariners are 1-0 after beating Montclair State 29-15. They're on the road this week as they play Nichols College on the 13th. Quick programming note: hey, if you are just a football fan and you want to watch the Secretary's Cup, the Secretary's Cup is going to be played in Fenway Park this season.
Wow.
And it's going to be on
Good for them.
ESPN. Yeah, so it's going to be on ESPN Plus. So you either get the televised game or you can go, watch a football game at Fenway. That sounds like it's pretty cool. But without further ado, we're going to move on to Joe's Blue Falcon of the Week. Thanks.
We can dance around, hey, I'm an old man, I don't like to trash on college players, but every once in a while a teachable moment presents itself, and we got one this weekend. So unfortunately, this is an easy one. On Saturday, we were witnesses to an incredible football game between University of South Florida and the Florida Gators in the Swamp, with USF pulling out the upset 18-16. I'd like to talk about the final drive. With 2 minutes and 7 seconds left on the clock, Florida defensive lineman Brendan Batt stood in the face of a South Florida player and spit directly into his face mask. Leaving how disgusting and disrespectful that is out, Batt was immediately ejected. Florida was assessed a 15-yard penalty, and 7 plays later, Nico Grammatica kicked the game-winning field goal for South Florida. Gentlemen, I don't think we've ever had behavior so egregious to your team when given the moment it happened in. that is a definition of a Blue Falcon moment. I mean, you literally leave your buddies behind and care about what you want to do. And that is what Mr. Bet did when he spat in the face of his opponent in an absolutely crucial moment for his team, giving South Florida a 15-yard first down. And for those reasons, he's definitely this week's Blue Falcon. And I think he needs to be taught a little bit of respect for himself in the game, in my opinion. Because if anybody that's doing that really isn't being situationally aware of the game, that or they just don't care, and you need to get that off your team.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, so who do we have up next, Joe?
All right, hey, don't stray too far away from the previous topic, as the hold my beer moment this week comes from the same game. I bet if they would have told Nico Gramatica that all he needed to do was make 3 30-yard or shorter chip shots and an extra point, and we're going to beat Florida, he would have said no problem. Doesn't sound too tough for a kicker. Not until you get to that last kick, though. Because that last kick is to win the game as the clock runs out in front of a sellout crowd of well over 100,000 people in the swamp, most of which are pulling for you to fail. How about just to ratchet up the game-winning field goal pressure? We make it a bunny, so you have no excuse for missing it. Does Nico flinch? Does he think, man, if I miss this kick, I'm going to be disowned by my family and get rattled? No. He takes that and the fact that more than one of his family members have been injured playing football due to non-contact after field goal celebrations, and he uses it as fuel to silence the haters. The snap was good, the hold was good, and just before he reared back and booted the game winner while imagining himself in the World Cup, Nico Gramatica said, "Hold my beer, watch this," and won the game. So I think it was a fantastic hold my beer moment for the kicker. Nailed 3 big ones and none bigger than the last. And if you saw that press box footage of the South Florida coaches running out of there, man, I felt good for them. Because they look like young guys that weren't quite established yet, and they went into Florida and won. Man, it's like everything football is about.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, look, there's 2 things we know in sports that are truisms. You never want to leave, you never want to leave the scorecards in the hand of the judges, and you don't want to leave the decision of the win or loss of a football contest on the foot of your kicker if you can avoid it, right? Not because of any other reason, not because that's not what they do. Too many things can happen, right? Like, hey, look, a kick can get blocked. It could be a bad hold. It could be a bad snap. It could be weather, wind, whatever. And so if you can win the game whistle to whistle, great. But to have a walk-off kick like that with no time remaining on the clock, that's huge for your team. And oh, by the way, it was who it was against. Like if it would have been against, University of Wetumpka, Alabama, nobody would have cared. No, but because it was
the momentum that carries into Miami, which is this Saturday, makes that game so. Could you imagine us at week 3 saying Miami and South Florida is going to be the most lit game of the week? Because it probably is, other than Tennessee and LSU.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that one's certainly one to watch. And we haven't even gotten games of the week yet, but that's certainly something to pay attention. No, you're fine. That's certainly something to pay attention to, because I think and you got to toss it out there and just think about it. Is USF for real? I mean, like they've put on 2.
I think their defenses.
They put on 2 quality wins. I mean, you shut out Boise State, and so now after you watch that Boise State game with USF, like, Ashton Jeanty should have won the Heisman Trophy, because clearly he is sorely missed it, on the blue turf. But it's interesting to see USF. They're starting to build momentum, and if they have a decent showing against Miami, I don't even I think deep down inside they want to win that game. But if they have a decent showing, if they keep it close, if they have the same score against Miami as they did against Florida, and Miami wins it, I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see, because their defense is legit. Carson Beck has a cannon, though, man. He looks like a completely different player in Miami than he does when he was at Georgia.
Byron Brown outplayed DJ Lagway in every facet of the game. That kid ain't scared. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah.
He's terrific, man. When he's healthy, he is as good as anybody in college football, and has been for a while.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. Speaking of great players, let's talk about the top 10. Joe, what do you got?
My whole screen just went.
Oh, there you go. We got you.
All right.
Okay. Yep. Whole screen just stopped. But yeah, he came in and played pretty tough against Lagway. I think he's going to do the same thing. I expect a close game in Miami. I really do.
Yeah, for sure. Let's hit the top 10.
All right, no change for OSU as they pummel Grambling 70-0. They do have the defending MAC champions, the Ohio Bobcats, coming in fresh off of an upset of West Virginia last weekend. They have played 2 good games, so something's telling me that's going to be closer than 5 touchdowns. The Bucks are a 32.5-point favorite. At number 2, we got Penn State. No change there as James Franklin's squad puts up a 34-point shutout victory over FIU. The Nittany Lions have the Wildcats of Villanova coming to town next weekend, and I think we're all just waiting for them to get tested. Looks like we got to wait another week. LSU is at number 3. The Tigers they put after an interesting 23-7 victory over Louisiana Tech. The next week in Death Valley should answer some questions as they have an absolutely pissed off Florida Gators team coming to town. Something tells me they're going to get Florida's best shot. The line is LSU minus 9.5. At number 4, we got the Oregon Ducks. They jumped up 2 spots after making me look away like I was about to watch a Faces of Death video because of what they did to Oklahoma State. They beat them 69-3 on Saturday. Oregon travels to Northwestern this week where they're a 4-touchdown favorite, and rightfully so because Northwestern's a mess. At number 5, we got Miami. No change there as the Hurricanes tuned up Bethune-Cookman 45-3. Ain't going to be a tune-up this week as they have one of the hottest teams in the country, the 2-0 South Florida Bulls, coming in. Miami is set favored by 17.5. At number 6, we got the Bulldogs of Georgia. They dropped 2 spots as they made it look difficult with Austin Peay, who is apparently a quality mid-team. They travel to play Tennessee this week. Georgia is a minus 3.5-point favorite. I'm not sure I agree with that line. Not in Tennessee, but at number 7, we got the Texas Longhorns. No change here. They stay in the 7th spot as they had a serviceable victory over San Jose State, 38-7. UTEP comes into Austin on Saturday where they are a 41.5-point underdog. At number 8, we got Notre Dame. I guess it's the luck of the Irish that they jump up 1 spot even though they didn't play. The undefeated Texas Aggies come to town next week. Somehow winless Notre Dame is a 6.5-point favorite. At number 9, we got the Illini, who have looked better and better, up 2 spots after demolishing Duke on the road 45-19. Illinois plays Western Michigan at home on Saturday, where they are a 28-point favorite. At number 10, we got the Seminoles of Florida State. Man, look out for them. They're on a revenge tour, and they just punched East Texas A&M's ticket 77-3 on Saturday. Florida State has the weekend off.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because Altmaier for Illinois is looking good, man. Like he's looking solid. They're getting good production out of just about everybody on that offense. He's got weapons for sure.
He's got Bo Nix level experience too.
Yeah, and he's been around.
Been there a minute.
Yeah, he's been there for a minute. And I think, again, this goes back to, and this is a topic for another time, but it goes right back into player development. Like the quarterbacks that have had the same quarterback coach or head coach for a while, they're doing pretty well. The guys that are bouncing from team to team are not doing so well. And I think, and like every time I look at a roster, I see like another victim of the transfer portal. So like, what is it? Matthew Sluka, who went from, Holy Cross to UNLV. Now he's at JMU. Dude's not even playing, right? Now you're in your junior year, the year where the scouts are looking at you and you're not even touching the field. And so I think, at some point this is going to level off with the transfer portal because guys are really cutting out their professional opportunities, trying to make money, in college. And hey, guess what? Like, 4 or 5 years in college is decent money, but that first term NFL contract is probably worth a little bit more long term for you as an athlete.
Stepping over dollars to pick up dimes.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of stepping over dollars to pick up dimes, we got top 25 losses this week. So we've got 8 total since the start of the season. Like last year, we were at I think it was 63 was the final count. And that, that was before going into the playoffs. So you're going to see a lot of turmoil in the top 25 for sure. SMU dropped one to Baylor in OT. Like if you didn't watch that game, that was a great game to watch. The final was impressive. Arizona State, certainly is going to drop out of the top 15. I didn't even look, but I knew that they did because they lost to Mississippi State. How do you lose to the worst team in the SEC? Like that lined up to be a cupcake game for them and didn't turn out. We already talked about Florida dropping one to USF. That was an amazing game though. And Michigan got edged by OU, man. I think had they played a little bit tighter in the first half, like Michigan's defense is legit, right? Like I think their defense is significantly better than their offense. And, but that being said, Mateer for freaking OU, That guy's
Yeah.
legit, man. He's trying to make his case for the Heisman Trophy, 100%.
There was one thing I saw that Michigan has to fix, and that is they're showing very early that we do not trust our guys to run block for 6 minutes straight. They're getting real cute with their plays where they're doing, they're doing toss sweeps and they're, reverses, but they're not doing power eye and counter tray and running off the left side. Like, so they're either saying they don't trust their offensive line yet to do that, or the new play calling is not my favorite. Because everyone talks about JJ McCarthy not being so great because of how much Michigan ran. And that's what killed people. If Michigan had the ball in 6 minutes, they were going to drain the clock on you if they had the ball to lead in 6 minutes. And if you can't run, just like the Lions in Green Bay, it looked different because they weren't controlling the line.
Yeah.
And Michigan wasn't controlling the line. Oklahoma was. And that was the big difference in this first half, in my opinion.
All right. So, this is an odd topic for week 3, but I think if we were to do this later in the season, it would be like which coach is on the hot seat based off of the performance of their team so far in the season. But right now, hats off to everybody for keeping calm for the most part. But there are some fan bases right now that are literally in panic mode. Like they are putting on their, they're putting on their mask and making sure the person sitting next to them is getting their mask on too, because they are going down in flames. And one of those is the K-State fan base, man. I saw a tremendous meltdown after just a great freaking football game. I've heard people we got to fire the offensive coordinator. We got to fire the head coach because we've got a 4-star quarterback and he couldn't pass. Yeah, he couldn't pass. His ass wasn't on the field. How are you supposed to win a football game? How are you going to put the hand, I could have Joe Montana or Eli or Peyton Manning, some of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of football. But if the time of possession is so lopsided that I only got 2 plays in the second half, and one of which was a 2-point conversion after a kickoff.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to win the football contest? But who else is in panic mode right now? Because I can see a lot of the fan bases with that are high strung right now, and it's hey, it's week 3, guys. There's plenty of time. Most teams haven't even started conference play yet, right? And these guys are shuttering their seasons already.
One more loss and it's over.
Yeah. So
I listened to a show today, the Bosco's Boys podcast. Friend of the show. I like that guy, but he described himself as being in the canoe and ready to bail out into the river, and it was wild. He wants to fire everybody. It was crazy. I think K-State has a good team. They could stand to change up some of that play calling a little bit. Run the read option. I don't know what you're doing. They're trying to run a drop back passing attack and they don't have the running backs or the line for that. But if they ran the read option, they could probably get away from that. But anyway, that's another story. Actually going to talk about that more on the Army show, but Liberty, man, they struggled to beat FCS Maine and they got smoked by Jacksonville State. We're used to thinking of Liberty as being one of the best teams in the G5. This year, I think they're one of the most average teams in the G5. I don't know if that's 5-alarm fire panic mode, but they are not great. That's not a good football team. UTSA is now 0-2. I think we can forgive the loss at Texas A&M, but losing to Texas State, where their defense absolutely could not stop Texas State at all, is not a great sign. Texas State just kept hitting bomb after bomb after bomb. It was insane. The Roadrunners have a get-right game this weekend against Incarnate Word, and then they're at Colorado State. And then they travel to take on Temple. And, guys, Temple is improved. So that game on October 4th is actually kind of an important one, I think, in the American Conference, just to kind of see where everybody sits. And then finally, out of the P4, dude, UCLA. They got losses to Utah and UNLV. Nico Imaliava has thrown 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, and taken 6 sacks. Backup quarterback just got thrown off the team after getting arrested. Holy shit, good. That is bad. That is 5-alarm fire bad.
Yeah, that sounds like some Colorado Buffaloes late 90s kind of action, stabbing the punter because he asked his girlfriend out on a date. Joe, who do you think should be prepping their Xanax for the second part of the season?
I think the fact that Tarleton State was able to pull off the win over Army is what has a lot of Kansas State fans panicking. And it's hey, man, look in the mirror. What happened to you happened to Army last week. And Army should be undefeated right now. They just, they had a lead, lost the lead, and lost the game leaving our opponent hanging around too long. So the same thing happened to Kansas State. So I think that they'll be fine. Um, and I also think that like just because Army had that first game, don't think they're not going to play better. And Army's never going to fold it in. Like I watched those guys take Michigan to overtime, and that was a thin year for them. I watched them in person do it, so it's what they do. So I think Kansas State will be just fine. A loss to Army is not something that you should hang your head about. They're a tough team, and if you don't show up, they're gonna stay in the game. So, I think that we should take notice of the fact that Oklahoma State just lost by 66 points to anybody, and ask ourselves, could we have pictured that 4 or 5 years ago? I think Oklahoma State is on the verge of burying their football program, and they certainly have an identity crisis. And Northwestern is a mess, in my opinion. They are a very hard school to qualify to get into academically, which excludes a lot of athletes from the get go. And it puts them behind the power curve. And then after what happened to Fitzgerald, they probably lost everything they had in the pipeline. And it's time for them to maybe clean house, get a football mind in there, and say, hey, do we want to have a football team? And if we do, what's our identity? Like, are we going to compete? Because Northwestern used to give you fits
Yeah.
every 3 or 4 years. They'd be a problem, and it's like they're just a whipping post now, and now they're not even competing. Like that Tulane game was ugly. That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, for sure. And I should have been wearing my quit being a triggered pansy shirt, because again, I agree with Dano. Like K-State, I think you guys are panicking way too early, and just for the simple reason is like you have to understand that like Army's a good football team. You also have to understand that Tarleton State is a good football team. Like if you have dipped in on Tarleton State social media and looked at anything behind the scenes, they have an $81 million football facility and program. Like they are about to jump to FBS. They are posturing themselves like JMU did. They're posturing themselves like Jackson State did. So yeah, they're coming after Power 5 scalps or Group of 5 scalps or just FBS scalps. So then they make that jump. They're competitive. And I mean, that makes absolute sense. And it's like nothing, not taking anything away from the performance that Army had, but we'll deep dive in the Army football show. But the reality of it is like, hey man, like you still have an opportunity to win. Like you lost, one conference game, and that was to a rival early during week 0. That happens. Now you've got to rebound, and it sucks. And like, yeah, all great that you got the international shine from going over to Ireland to play that game. But like, was that a smart move? And again, you don't control the coach doesn't control the booking of, games like that early, but there's probably some things that he can do. But yeah, like those dudes are like seriously angry at their team. Like they want the whole coaching staff gone. And I was like, like if they stink it up, like if they go freaking 3-10, like, yeah, then maybe you have a reason to be upset but right now it's still too early. ASU, on the other hand, hey man, had a chance to win the game. That was a bad coaching call. Like why would you stay in your base defense when you know that they have to throw in order to beat you? And then, just like their quarterback got beat up, man. Sam Levitt got rocked a lot in that game. And like, he's not used to getting hit. I think there's probably some line stuff that needs to happen because they couldn't get their offensive line going. Their defense obviously is decent-ish because they didn't let Mississippi State score a bunch of points, but you still didn't score enough to win the game. And so like, that's one of those, like, as you get deeper into your season, especially as Arizona State, you've got to be able to put up 45, 50 points in the Big 12 to win, because that's how those games go. Like most of the time they're shootouts unless they're rivalry games. And so like, I think Arizona State might be in trouble. And then of course, I think the absolute worst one that I'm watching, and the collapse is 100% real, is Stanford. Because Stanford used to be one of those teams that was like a perennial, like, hey, you better watch out, because if you're playing Stanford, they're going to get you, and now it's like, hey, we've got Andrew Luck coming back from the pros. We're talking crap about the coach. We don't know what's going on, and they can't even recruit. Like, because think about it, Christian McCaffrey was a Stanford guy,
Yeah.
And so when you think about the level of talent that they used to have in that place versus the level of talent that they have now, like I would say I would be significantly concerned, and maybe in the restructured, Mountain Pac-10 that's coming next year as they talk about realigning that conference, maybe they'll get something back. But like Stanford's in trouble. I think of all
the
the
jet
100,
stream of Jim Harbaugh's success is fading.
yeah, I think of the 130, of the 136 teams in FBS football, that would be the one that I'm absolutely most concerned for, because it's chaos both on the field and in the front office. Like if you have a stable coaching crew, I think you can survive. But like if you don't have recruiting is one thing, recruiting and coaching is another thing. But when the front office is drastically against what the coach is doing, I think you've got a much greater issue. And we are moving on to the games of the week. If you can believe it, man, we are in week 3 of major college football. It is bonkers, right? So starting off on Thursday night, September the 11th, you got NC State at Wake Forest. That may turn out to be a better game. It might be one of the only ones on, so certainly watch it if you feel the need, but I think that one's going to be a good one. You've got Indiana taking on Indiana State. That's another tune-up game. Really nothing of interest on Friday night unless you're a Kansas State fan, because K-State takes on Arizona, and then you got Colorado at Houston. Those are mildly interesting for a Friday night, but I don't think that those games are going to be as competitive some of the games on Saturday. Moving into the early kicks on Saturday, you've got Memphis at Troy, American Conference play. Oregon at Northwestern, as Joe mentioned before. I think, I hope that doesn't turn into a bloodletting, but I think it is. Northwestern is struggling right now. Oregon's offense is hot right now. I mean, I think as big as the holes that the line are putting in, you could probably get, a Pop Warner kid, hand off the ball to him, and he's going to get 200 yards rushing against Northwestern. Looking at Oklahoma and Temple, that should be interesting because Temple is trending upwards, and Oklahoma, they've got a Heisman Trophy candidate at QB1. That'll be an interesting way to start that one. I got Central Michigan and Michigan. Army coaching alum Matt Drinkle is going against Michigan. I don't think they'll win that game, but it'll be respectable because Central Michigan has a good team. I mean, they looked good this weekend. Of course, things got out a little bit of hand, but talent match is kind of weird. All right, so you got Clemson and Georgia Tech kicking at noon. That'll be an interesting game. Haynes King versus Cade Klubnik. One of those two guys is going to be in the Heisman Trophy talk even more after this game, and it's probably going to be the QB that wins it. Yeah. Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, no, I was just saying that's a great spot to take Georgia Tech in the points. I don't know how they're getting – last time I checked, it was 9.5.
Yeah.
I'll take it all day.
Yeah, I don't know how Clemson is getting that many points, but Georgia Tech and Haynes King, there's got to be a parlay too with how many touchdowns he's going to pass or run, because that guy is probably he's one of the better quarterbacks in there. Wisconsin and Alabama, that's going to be a tricky one too, because got Luke Fickell going to Tuscaloosa. Bama looked great against an FBS or FCS opponent. That's not impressive, and then this will be the real test to see if Alabama is going to Bama the rest of the season, because, they potentially could run the table from here, but they got their work cut out for them with the defense that Luke Fickell can throw together. UConn at Delaware, that's an interesting contest just based off of the way that the Huskies fell apart last week and Delaware got smacked around. So the Blue Hens are probably looking for a little bit of revenge, and it's at home. It's a 3:00 kick on ESPN+.
If UConn drops that game, I'm going to scream. Come on.
They shouldn't.
What's crazy is the last two teams in my parlay were Syracuse and SMU. And so as I'm celebrating one winning a game they should not have, the other one's killing my parlay in the game they should have won.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I had SMU and Syracuse.
Yeah, that's crazy. SMU's, they're trying to bounce back against
they choked.
Yeah, they should bounce back against Missouri State. You got Oregon State and Texas Tech. That might be a little bit of an interesting contest because Texas Tech is ranked. They're in the 24th spot, but we'll see. You got Villanova at Penn State. Is Villanova not even?
I don't know.
No shade on
Villanova. Be bad.
No shade on Villanova, but hey, Penn State. I understand that you guys are trying to manage your schedule, but if the playoff committee is looking at strength of schedule, this does not help your case at all.
How's this? If Vegas can't give you a line for it, get better competition. Okay.
Yeah, that's
you
a
need
fair
better
point.
Competition.
And so you got ranked on ranked matchup, Georgia and Tennessee. I think that'll be a good one. That'll kick at 3:30 on ABC. We'll see if Georgia's for real. I think We had a lot of Power 5 or Power 4 teams playing with their food this weekend. Like if you mess around like that, Tennessee will absolutely get you at home.
The
Oh,
home
I hope
team,
they win, dude. Oh,
the
I hope
home
they
field
win that game.
advantage. The home field advantage in that contest is insane. And they got like
Because of-
103,000 people in that stadium. I mean, dude,
Yeah.
it is insane.
Yeah, and make no mistake, there will be some goalposts in the lake or in the river if Georgia doesn't keep it together. Yeah, Texas takes on UTEP again. Like, really? Why are we even watching this? Hey, but 4:30 on the CW. So if you guys have the CW, or grab your antenna so you can get this one, because you've got USF at Miami. That's going to be on broadcast TV. It'll be on digital too if you have it. But like, that's definitely a game to watch. We've got Charlotte taking on Monmouth as that's a American Conference matchup. Got Florida Atlantic at FIU. That should be a decent game. Florida Atlantic should have the edge on that because FIU is pretty nicked up because they took a beating this past weekend. Got Western Michigan at Illinois kicking at 7. Do we think that Luke Altmaier is going to be that guy this season? Because I think a lot of people are looking at him to be that dude, and he's been pretty consistent so far this season. Moving on, you got Prairie View A&M at Rice. My dad actually graduated from Prairie View about 1,000 years ago, but small note. And but that's another American Conference matchup. Then you got Arkansas and Ole Miss. Ole Miss, literally, they're lucky they're at home taking on the Arkansas because they did not look so great against Kentucky. And Kentucky is like Kentucky's up and down. Like they're not a bad team, but they're not a great team. Ohio going into the shoe at Ohio State, like that's basically a home game for both teams. But look, man, Ohio's gotten 3 out of 4 against West Virginia in their place. So the last time West Virginia won was like 2001 at Bobcat Stadium, and like that emotional high from beating West Virginia is probably not going to last past like the first half of the first quarter against the Buckeyes. Jeremiah Smith, massive game. Then you've got Florida at LSU. Florida's got to get some respect in that one, man. Like that one's going to be a tough contest for sure.
They're going to get smoked playing at LSU. Come on.
Yeah.
I wish Dano gave me 5 picks for some of these this week. And that's one of them.
Yeah, for sure. I think that one's going to be bad. Texas A&M and Notre Dame. Hey, like, this is the test to see if Notre Dame is for real. Like if they put it on Texas A&M, then maybe we can see them actually making some moves or having some impact on the college football playoff this season. But
they should have scheduled that one in November.
It would have been a much better. It would have been a smarter call for sure.
Yeah.
East Carolina at Coastal Carolina, again, basically
That's
a home
good
game
one
because those are right there.
Yeah.
But ECU is like, I don't know what's going on with them. Are they shaking the cobwebs out or what? But Coastal always plays them tough because they're so close in proximity, same recruiting population, that kind of thing. It's kind of a border war situation. You got Vandy at South Carolina. Interesting game. That game is probably going to be good. Diego Pavia, picked up where he left off last year and is all about getting the upset. And that's usually the crown that's held by South Carolina, especially in the SEC. So tune in for that one. That's going to be on the SEC network at 7:45. Late games, we're moving on at 8 o'clock. You got Duke at Tulane. That's a conference matchup, or out of conference, but a American Conference game. Navy at Tulsa. That's playing at 8 o'clock on ESPN Plus. Utah at Wyoming. Utah's ranked still, surprisingly. Air Force at Utah State, and then you've got Texas State at Arizona State, and that might be another trap game.
Yeah,
look out, Arizona State. Better pick your chin up.
Texas State is a much better team than you think. Like that team is better than you think they are.
Yeah, well, and I think that's one of those things where we start getting closer than the experts think. But like Texas State went down, like look, if you win in the Alamo Dome, you're bad dude.
Do they have the same quarterback from last year?
I don't know who their quarterback was last year.
Oh God, that kid padded some stats. Yeah, I'll have to do my research on Texas State if they win again this weekend, because
that dude has an absolute cannon. I mean, he has got a legit howitzer.
Is he black or white?
I don't even know. He was wearing a helmet.
Because the quarterback last year was African American, and that dude hung some stats. So if he's back, I don't know. Texas State was fun to watch last year, in my opinion.
I mean, just the number of bombs that this kid dropped on Saturday was unreal. I mean, it must have been 5 60-yard bombs.
Yeah, and this dude's and they're on a rope too. It's not like he's struggling for accuracy that far down the field.
No, Jesus, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
and
it's the
then
same guy, I'm pretty sure I ate off of his touchdown props on FanDuel a couple times last year. Yeah, like that dude pads the stats.
yeah, for sure. And then the late game is going to be Portland State of Hawaii. That kicks off at midnight if you're up that late. American game to watch this week. I think Navy and Tulsa is probably the only in-conference matchup to watch. Golden Hurricane usually plays Navy tough, but like who knows the way that this season is going, because Navy's defense had the benefit of the extra long layoffs in between. I don't think Navy would have played as solid a defense if they didn't have those rain delays, because I think those rain delays actually allowed them to make up time, because when you're looking at the way that the game was going, like the first half was wide open. And then after all those rain delays, then the defense tightened up. So they were able to make some corrections, and hey, is what it is. ECU plays Coastal, like we already mentioned. I think that'll be another game in the American to watch. But
Duke at Tulane. Who is Tulane? Not to spoil my picks, but I took them to cover. They didn't even get close to covering a mediocre at best Duke team coming into Tulane. Dude, if the Green Wave don't beat Duke handily, I don't know if they're the team we thought they were after week one, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, that's a good observation, man, because like I knew that it wasn't going to be a close game at Illinois. That was my pick last week, but I didn't think it was going to get that out of hand. I thought it would have been a close game, maybe 10 points, but like they dog walked them. So we'll see. But hey, let's move on to our
weekly locks.
Weekly locks.
That sounder's pretty cool, man. Dano, good job on that, man. I'm
Thanks.
impressed. All right, what you picking this week, Dan?
So 1-1 again. God damn it, Tulane. They let the Jaguars score 17 points in the fourth quarter and almost lost. Unbelievable. But Jacksonville State took care of business against Liberty. So, 1-1. I got 3 picks because I've gone 1-1 every single week. So give me K-State at Arizona over 54.5. I really think that that K-State, they got to do something with that offense and kick it in gear, or else they're dead. And Memphis minus 4.5 at Troy. That line's insane. Memphis is such a better team than that. You got to be kidding me. And Texas State at Arizona State over 59.5. We've talked about that one. I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but they're going to score a lot of points.
Yeah, that's fair. Do you think Texas State's going to take the lion's share of points, or do you think ASU is going to contribute?
You know what? It's kind of like I almost took K-State and the points over Arizona because I think K-State's got to play better. And I kind of feel the same way about that game. Like, I think K-State's going to keep it I think Texas State is going to keep it competitive. I think they can score a lot, but like, it wouldn't surprise me if Arizona State, beats them by 2 touchdowns. I mean, I don't know. UTSA also moved the ball quite a bit. That was a very high scoring game last week.
Yeah, for sure. It'll just be interesting. Like if Arizona State goes with tempo and tries to control it with the running game, then they may have a better chance of like locking that thing down, but we'll see. Joe, what are you picking?
I went 2-1 last week, and I was snagged by the hook in the Iowa State game. I had them minus 3.5, and they won by a field goal. Illinois, we both had smash Duke, and then Mississippi State fraud checked Arizona State. So puts us in the black, and I'm 4-2 in the last 2 weeks. I think we can do better. So I've got 3 picks because that's all Daniel will give me. Number 1 is Texas Tech. Minus 23.5. Look, the Red Raiders have their offense against Oregon State at home. The Red Raiders have their offense rolling. They've gone over 60 in their first 2 games, and Oregon State is terrible. Give me Texas Tech to win this one going away like 52-13. And then you mentioned this one already. I'm buying Oregon minus 27.5 at Northwestern. Northwestern's also a mess. And I think that Oregon's going to pretty much do whatever they want to do for 4 quarters. Give me Oregon 52-14. And then South Florida plus 17.5 at Miami. I can see that Las Vegas clearly isn't a believer in South Florida yet, but I do believe in that defense and that this will be a close game, that Carson Beck throws a TD that wins it 34-28 Miami. Lock these 3 in a parlay and thank me later. But I do believe that Illinois covers at home also.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think they're giving 27.5. I think they cover at home again.
Yes. So for me this week, I've got Illinois easily covered over Duke. although they scored a lot of points, it was just very lopsided. Arch Manning and Texas won, but like San Jose State was still over. San Jose State covered 37.5. Like that shows you how like still, Vegas is still, on the Manning train, and I don't know why. His name's not Eli and or freaking, Peyton. I think Arch will get there probably by the midpoint of the season. He'll start putting up the numbers like he's expected to, but like he still threw a pick, and I don't know. I think there's still a little bit of shine, and I think the offense got opened up a little bit more for Texas, but it's still not where it needs to be. So we'll see. Anyway, this week, take Wisconsin to cover 19.5 against Alabama. Alabama beat the brakes off of FCS team this week, but I'm not sure they're going to have the same level of success against FBS opponents. This will be an interesting matchup because Big Ten versus the SEC. Like if you look at the statistics of the last couple of years, Big Ten is kind of got their number right now. So we'll see if a Luke Fickell coach team can go into Tuscaloosa and pull off that. I don't know if they'll win, but I certainly think they'll cover. And then take the under of UConn and Delaware. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. Delaware's offense is not that great. UConn, flashes of brilliance last season, but not so great this season. I think pretty much what's going to happen is they're going to score maybe, I think it's like probably a, 28-10 final score. You're muted, Dano.
God damn it. They're going to beat the brakes off Delaware. I don't know how to tell you, Rob. They're a much better team than they look. I mean, I understand your reluctance, but dude, come on.
50.5 points? No way.
Now, if you're thinking it's going to be like an LSU Louisiana Tech 23-7 game where UConn maybe lets off the gas, I could see that happening.
Yeah, I guess I could see that happening.
That's possible.
If they decide to just run the ball, I could see it being like a 35-10 game.
Yeah, that I could see.
Yeah, I just don't think UConn is going to get out of hand. I think they're going to score.
Yeah,
I think they're going
I hear you.
to be lopsided, but I don't think they're going to score like 50
Yeah.
points.
No, I mean, I don't think they're going to beat them 45-5 or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, I just don't see that happening. We've got some picks in here for Omar. So Omar is taking BC to cover 10.5 at Stanford. And again, for all the reasons why we said their fan base should be concerned.
Wow.
Stanford's offense is terrible. Boston College, he brings a passing ability.
Just lost to Michigan State.
Yeah.
I think in overtime. That was a good game.
Yeah, for sure. He's got UAB covering 11.5 versus Akron. As bad as UAB's defense is, he's like as
That's
bad
the
as
two
USC.
worst teams in football right there going at it. Jesus.
I think that's why he took the most. That may be the most obscure pick in the history of picks. And then his third one is Kentucky covering -24.5 against Eastern Michigan.
I don't know, man. I'm not convinced with Kentucky.
Eastern's bad. Of the directional Michigans, they're the worst this year. It's like Central and Western are right there, and then Eastern's way down there. They're bad. They lost a lot.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see, man. Like, wow, we're at the end of the show, guys. We went through and that is a fair point, Ray. 100%.
Omar's walkery.
100%. Another great week of college football is in the books. We finally are starting to see some teams gel as they start to get closer to conference play. Some teams will have another 2 weeks of cupcakes, which is just ridiculous. That just makes your stomach upset. I think as the playoff evolves, teams are going to have to start moving the cupcakes out of the beginning of the season and start making their case for their conference games. Either going to add a conference like the SEC has done, add an additional conference game to force, the strength of schedule discussion.
Yeah.
Or start dropping some of these cupcake teams because you can't play 3, softer opponents and expect to make it into the playoff. I just don't think that's right. And, but then again, sports writers, man, Paul Feinbaum is still saying, Alabama is going to win the national championship this week. So
he'll never.
He's also still alive for those of you that don't check.
Yeah. So I got a favorite thing before we move on to the wrap up. So I got invited by a classmate of mine who's doing another podcast. It's called The Beaten Zone, and we are going to talk Army stuff, but it's kind of to counter the some of the treachery that's happening in the vet bro culture right now. So we've got a lot of veterans that are taking each other down for no apparent reason. Look, I get it. Everybody's trying to sell, mouthwash and dog food or merch. Go to the Ask for Football merch store. But like, if I lead my discussion with, hey, before I dive into me insulting and deep diving on this guy's background and all the bad things he's ever done in uniform, make sure you buy a t-shirt from my merch store. That kind of tells me where your head is. So John Mark and I are going to get on and talk about Army stuff. So if you want to know more about, what I did when I was in the suit, check that one out. It should be coming out early part of next week. But the other piece of it is like, hey man, there's enough people out there selling t-shirts that you don't have to dog out your battle buddy to get ahead. That's
a great topic that does need some attention, because with Veteran Trash Talk, when we decided to start that was like the cornerstone of the foundation of what we believe in. We will promote anyone for free, and we never ever share a problem we'd have with a veteran on a platform. If it was to the point where we had a problem with them that bad, we'd talk to them. But we've got enough issues without taking each other down. Like, man, that if you're making t-shirts and coffee, you're grinding. So let those guys make their money.
Yeah, but I mean, and again, it's a much deeper topic. But the reality of it is everything that John Mark is doing is going to a 501c called Operation Freedom Paws, and that's to help veterans get service animals and that kind of thing. So, like, if you want to tune into John Wick's new favorite podcast, come check it out, because it's all about Army stuff and dogs. So I think that'll be cool. But all that being said, if you are a member of the Firsty Club, be excited, because we've got a really special interview coming up on the Army Football Show here in about 36 minutes. But we'll get you guys out of here. Thanks for checking us out. This is the College Football Roundtable, or also known as Ring Knocker Radio. I'm Rob, the Angry Colonel, calling to you out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. We got Dano Ikebesa calling to you out of Coastal Connecticut, and Trigger Joe from the home of the Big House. Hey, we thank you guys for checking us out this week. And as always, hey, beat the bye week, but we'll talk to you guys here in about 30 minutes if you are in the Firsty Club for the Army Football Show. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks. Thanks for listening to the Ask for Football College Football Roundtable. Join the AFF team next week for more hot takes and college football analysis. If you like the show and you want to support us, consider signing up for our Patreon at Ask for Football, or opting into our mailing list at askforfootball.com/subscribe. We'll catch you guys next week. And as always, beat Navy.